Welcome into the betPARX pregame show presented by Pond, Lehocky, Marc, Farzetta, Seth Joyner, Derrick, Gunn. It feels like an eternity after about 4 days, 2 games back-to-back there with the Sunday, and then, of course, the Thursday night game where the Eagles handled their business against the Washington Commanders. They're back in action tonight under the bright lights of prime time in Los Angeles to take on the Rams. Jalen Hurts. What's that?
I hate these night games.
Oh, that's insane.
You got to sit here and watch all these other games during the day. And you got to sit and wait and wait and wait.
I actually love it, man. It gives me an opportunity to watch some games.
No. I want to get these shows going, man. Get fired up.
You just want to go home. That's
all.
I want to be in bed by 9. You want to be in bed by 9.
No, I want to go home and watch highlights of all the games later.
Well, you don't got to watch highlights when you watch the games all day.
Yeah, you only get to see 1 or 2 games.
Welcome in once again. We are live from Parx Casino in Ben Salem, just 20 minutes north of Center City, Philadelphia. Live from the betPARX Sportsbook at Parx Casino. We were just outside the Excite Center. Pennsylvania's #1 casino, Parx Casino. This is how you win, and we're hoping those Philadelphia Eagles pull off the win today against the Rams as Jalen Hurts leads his team into Los Angeles. The last time they were out there, the Eagles handled their business to the tune of a 23-15 victory over the Rams. The Eagles had a wide receiver named A.J. Brown go off in that game. They're going to need him to go off today because the Eagles will be without Devontae Smith. They are down to their #1 weapon, which isn't the worst thing when it comes to the passing game. And, of course, still Saquon Barkley running the ball out of the backfield. But first, Seth, I found it very interesting this week when A.J. Brown was addressing the media. They constantly asked him about whether or not Devontae Smith was going to play in the game. He wouldn't give them anything. He said, I know what you guys are going for, but I'm not going to give you anything on that because I don't want to will into existence the idea of Devontae Smith not playing. But when a defensive coordinator is preparing for this very versatile offense, and one of the key cogs in the wheel is not playing, how much does that impact how the defensive coordinator for the Rams is going to attack this Eagles offense?
Well, I mean, it's huge, and I think that's one of the reasons why the Eagles try to keep it, secret as long as they possibly could. Because if a defensive coordinator gets that information early in the week, that gives him more time to prepare for how do you take away A.J. Brown if you don't have Devontae Smith actually on the field. So that is a huge deal. Now, it's going to be interesting to see what they come up with to take A.J. away, and it's going to be an opportunity for some other guys, Jahan Dotson, Grant Calcaterra, to kind of step up, even Dallas Goedert to step up, and pick up the slack. But don't get it twisted in the least little bit. This game will be about Saquon Barkley running the ball to be able to set up whatever passing the Eagles desire to do.
Now, when it comes to Jalen Hurts slinging the football, the last time they went out there, he led the team in rushing, actually. DeAndre Swift was second on the team in rushing. What are you seeing from Jalen Hurts so far that can maybe help him in the passing game in general?
Well, I talked about this team taking, baby steps, step by step, coming out of the bye, and they certainly have done that. I even floated the idea of maybe, having Jalen just being a game manager for some time until the offense could find its footing and have the game actually run through Saquon in the run game. Obviously, offensive linemen felt that way coming out of going into the bye. They talked to Nick Sirianni about those same exact things. And for those, there's a lot of chatter going around about whether Jalen can actually throw the ball in a game and in a situation where they need him to throw the ball and have a big day passing. And there's a lot of consternation, not only locally within the media, people are doubting it, but, nationally in the media, it's been a big point of conversation. I just want people to understand where Jalen is and why the circumstances are the way that they are. You got to realize Jalen is throwing the ball, Marc, and D. Gunn on average, 21 pass attempts per game over the last 6 games. 21. Now, those types of numbers, I mean, back in my day, early in my day, when teams were smash mouth football, they were averaging about 25 to 30 passes a game. 21 passes a game over the last 6 games is what he's averaging. He is completing 16 of those passes, okay? 16 of those passes on average of those 21 passes that he's throwing per game over the last 6 games, he's completing 16 of them per 21 attempts, all right? For 180 yards, and each catch is netting 11 yards per catch, okay? So for those who don't think that he can't get it done, look, the numbers aren't great, But at the end of the day, when you only ask your quarterback to throw the ball 21 times a game because you're dominating in the run game, then you understand why his numbers look so pedestrian. On the other side of the equation, let's talk about the run game. The Eagles rank first in the National Football League in running. They are running the ball on average 36 carries per game, okay? 36 carries per game for 173 yards on the ground, 4.5 yards per carry average, okay? And they're averaging 2 touchdowns a game on the ground over that period. So let's stop this nonsense and talking about what he can and what he can't do. The thing has been set up in a way for them to operate the way that they're operating, and the defense is playing well. And two things that makes your offense, makes your team win football games in this 6-0 run is when you run the ball effectively, which they have, and when you play great defense, which they have. So people need to calm down and relax. They will, at one time when he's got the full complement and everybody's 100% healthy, and that game presents itself for him to have to throw the ball 30, 40 times in order for them to win, for him to amass 300 yards in order for them to win. We've seen him do it before. Don't get amnesia and act like you ain't never seen him do it before.
I don't understand all this negativity towards Jalen and the way he plays the game. I mean, all he's done is accounted for 12 touchdown passes and 11 rushing touchdowns. And when you talk about him completing 16 out of 21, think about this. A quarterback who normally throws the ball only 21 times in a game doesn't get in a rhythm. Today's passing game, quarterback has to throw the football 30 to 40 times to get in a so-called rhythm. He's throwing it 21 times a game, which means it's like 1 out of every 7 or 8 plays that he's throwing the football, okay? So there's no rhythm there, but yet he's hitting his targets with an above 70% frequency. So what else do you want him to do? When you have a dominant run game like they're running the football and you're racking up the wins the way they're racking up the wins, you know how many quarterbacks in the National Football League would love to be completing 69% of their passes on the season, over 70% over what Seth has just talked about over the last 6 games, and account for the amount of rushing / pass touchdowns he's accounted for? And people, and not just local, I mean nationally he gets a lot of hate as well. I've just never figured that out about him. Okay, he's not an electric passer, but in this particular scheme, he doesn't have to be. All he has to do, and I hate to use the word, but it's an appropriate word, manage what they want you to do. So all you got to do is manage it. Don't turn the ball over. Hasn't been doing that. Hasn't turned the ball over in quite some time, right? Get the ball to the end zone. He's been doing that with frequency, right? What else do you want for him to do at this stage?
No, absolutely. And I agree. I think he gets a lot of disrespect. And I think the number one reason is he does the thing that you're not supposed to do. And you're right, Gunner. He hasn't done it with great frequency as of late. But when you go through a game or you go through stretch of games, 20 games, where you're turning the football over at an alarming rate, that's going to sink into a lot of people's mind. And you talk about, Seth, numbers sinking into people's minds. Nothing sinks in faster than turnovers. And as a quarterback, you can't continue to give the defense opportunities to score, the opposing defense opportunities. So that's what I think a lot of people focus on when it comes to Jalen Hurts. But unfortunately, one other thing is taken over a conversation when it comes to Jalen Hurts, and that's this ankle issue. Gunner, is there an ankle issue? We heard from Nick Sirianni where he had a little slip 2 weeks ago. Oh, his ankle. Whoa, what ankle? Then all of a sudden he was listed, and it was supposed to be a day of rest for Jalen Hurts, a plan coming out of the bye week. He goes and he plays, of course, last week against the Washington Commanders. And now we hear it again, or we see it again on the injury report, where due to an ankle injury, he doesn't participate in practice. And then eventually, as the week goes on, he does. Is there any cause for concern or anything to even monitor when it comes to Jalen Hurts' alleged ankle injury?
When he played his last game, did he look like he had an ankle injury?
The answer to that would be no.
Yeah, no. Especially that scramble on the sideline where he laid out and got the first down. Didn't look like nothing was wrong with that ankle.
So what are they talking about?
So basically, it's a minor at most. What player's not hurting right now? A hurt wrist, a hurt back, knee, shoulder, neck, something. Everybody's hurting, but not to the degree where it's limiting anything that he's called to do. When he took off and ran that last game, looked fine to me, didn't he? You know, it's amazing what adrenaline rush can do for you that modern medicine can't. That inner adrenaline rush you get when you're on the field playing and 300-pound guys trying to take your head off, you don't think about that.
Well, this is an interesting setting because they're going to Los Angeles to face the Rams again. If you remember last year, they went out and they played Tampa Bay in Tampa Bay, and they beat the Buccaneers. In that game, Jalen Hurts passed up on 6 extra yards in front of him and instead got out of bounds short of the first down marker, which caused a lot of us to have concern regarding a knee injury from last year. Then a couple of weeks later, I believe it was, they go into Los Angeles, and he again leads the team in rushing this time and showed no ill effects of the knee injury. So when it comes to what's healthy and what's not surrounding Jalen Hurts, I'm a little bashful when it comes to whether or not he's 100% or not.
Well, I think sometimes the injury report can be a little bit misleading. If you're on the injury report, that means that you're getting treatment for something. And if you're getting treatment for something, it could be major, it could be minor, it could be nothing at all, but you're getting treatment for it. And as long as you're in there getting treatment for it, you're supposed to, by rule, show up on the injury report. So I don't really put anything into it. I think that, there's a certain amount of rest that, for all of these guys, you see certain guys that gets a day off here, a day off there. I think more than anything, when you don't see him practice, it's more of a situation where they're giving him rest early in the week rather than there really being an injury issue.
All right, they just had a nice 10-day layoff. The last time they had a nice 10-day layoff, they went up against the Falcons, and they were, unfortunately, a Saquon Barkley catch away from winning that game. Before we hit our first break, a rest versus rust argument, Gunnar, I'll ask you first. How will the long layoff affect the Eagles, if at all?
I don't think it'll have an effect on them one iota. If nothing else, it's giving them additional time to work on the little things they still feel they need to work on. I think this team is ready. At this stage of a season, a layoff benefits you. It doesn't hurt you, especially when you're a good team like the Eagles. That just helps you add fuel to the fire going down the stretch. And they're going to need it because they're going to play some good teams here over the next several weeks. And that includes this Rams team. You can say they're a 500 team, but you know what? Matthew Stafford is 16 years in this game.
Oof.
When Matthew Stafford's on a roll, and the Rams are starting to get healthy again. See, that's a little scary also. Although Miami got them before they were completely healthy, now they're starting to get healthy again. Mm-hmm. And they're at home in this game tonight. When you talk about playing a Matthew Stafford in his backyard, you got to be on your P's and Q's. And these guys are geared up for this game tonight. Last year the young players hit that proverbial wall as young players. That's not happening right now. So they're raring to go. And as young as this defense is, there's no excuse for these players to be tired or rusty at this stage of a season.
Absolutely. Seth, the former player himself, rest versus rust going into tonight's game, will it affect?
Say it again.
The rest versus rust argument going into tonight's game with the Eagles having another 10-day layoff, second of the season, other than their bye, of course. Will it affect them tonight?
No, listen, I think that anytime you can get the rest, it's a positive. Those extra days are going to give the coaching staff some extra time to be able to work on some things. You work on some technique and some fundamental things that during a regular work week you might not have the luxury to do. Players can kind of get rested and get refocused. It kind of breaks their normal schedule a little bit. But anytime you get 3 extra days off or 4 extra days off, that's a good thing. So. And then they had the luxury to sit back today and watch all the games today. They sat back and watched the Dallas Cowboys upset, the Washington Commanders, which now if they walk away from this game gives them a 3.5 game lead in the division alone. They got an opportunity to watch Detroit, win their game in big fashion again today over the Colts, realizing that they must keep pace, that they can't fall behind. And I realize, we talk about it in the broader scheme, in the broader scope, but I think that as players, you have to look at it one game at a time. But you always have that extra motivation when you know with the guys that you're chasing and the guys that are trying to chase you, what they're doing beforehand. Now they know what they got to go out and do and get done tonight. Not that they didn't know that before everybody kicked off today, but that's just a fact.
You mentioned the Giants. I know Thanksgiving is Thursday. I think everyone's extremely thankful to not be a Giants fan right about now. Let's see here. They paid Danny Dimes. Saquon becomes an Eagle. They cut Danny Dimes. What the heck happened? That's what you have to be thinking as a member of the New York Giants fan base. Unfortunately, we're not in that club. We're in the Eagles club. When we come back, we're going to talk again about Devontae Smith not playing into tonight's game. We'll also go behind enemy lines. Who are we looking at as a member of that L.A. Rams team that we should be focusing on and who the Eagles coaches should be focusing on as well? That's when we return on the betPARX pregame show presented by Lehocky. There it is in all its majesty. Parx Casino, Ben Salem, just 20 minutes north of Center City, Philadelphia.
It's happening again. Those missed tackles are starting to stack up. Your friends pleading with players who can't hear them. sweating it out week after week. But not you. Why? Because whether they score or not, there's always another way to win on the betPARX app. New casino users score up to $1,000 bonus back in their first 24 hours.
At Pond Lehocky Giordano, we understand the impact an injury can have on your life. Our experienced attorneys have recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we know we can do the same for you. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured at work, give Pond Lehocky a call.
Sell your car to us, no hassle, no fuss. DavisBuysCars.com.
Did you know that Davis Honda will pay top dollar for your car? Go to DavisBuysCars.com and get an instant quote on your vehicle. We'll make the purchase as easy as possible and put cash in your hand faster than you can say DavisBuysCars.com.
Sell your car to us, no hassle, no fuss. DavisBuysCars.com. It's the most wonderful time with the kids jingle. Be of good cheer. It's the most wonderful.
Whether your phone's broken or old, we've got you. With Verizon, anyone can trade in any phone, any condition. And get iPhone 16 Pro with Apple Intelligence on us. And iPad and Apple Watch Series 10, all three on us. That's up to $2,000 in value, only on Verizon.
Hello?
This next segment is brought to you by the betPARX app at Parx Casino. Download the betPARX app for online casino and sportsbook play. New users get up to $1,000 casino bonus back. Go to betPARX for details. Must be 21 or older and in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Michigan, Ohio, or Maryland. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Welcome back to the betPARX pregame show presented by Pond Lehocky. Marc, Farzetta, Seth Joyner, and Derrick Gunn with you today. Ladies and gentlemen, as you know by now, we talked about in the opening segment, Devontae Smith not playing in tonight's game due to a hamstring injury, so the Eagles are going to be even more reliant on A.J. Brown, who in last year's win over the Rams, 23-14, he put up 126 yards on 6 catches. But another member of this Eagles offense also had himself one heck of a game. 8 catches for Eagles tight end Dallas Goedert, 117 yards and a touchdown. Seth, how pivotal, or how important, rather, will it be for Dallas Goedert to have a big contribution in tonight's game?
Listen, I think it's always important for Dallas to have, more of a role than he has. Excuse me. But for some reason or another, they can't seem to figure out how to incorporate him into, into the game plan. When teams come out and play cover 2 against us, we should have some vertical routes against cover 2, seam routes, some sit downs, where he's crossing and just sit down in between the linebackers. Every other team seems to run some of these things and use some really pedestrian, average type tight ends. But it seems like everything that Dallas gets is a screen or something going to the flat that eventually carries them out of bounds. I think he's a phenomenal tight end, and I think that if he was more of a focal point in the offense, that he could be, as productive as Travis Kelce and George Kittle's are to their offenses.
I'm not going to say just Goddard. I think the tight end position, period, could have a big game tonight. You look at Calcaterra, he's averaging 12.7 yards a catch compared to Goddard's 12.5. So that's an average of the position itself, 12.6 yards per catch. Calcaterra has shown over the last several games when Goddard has been out that he has really improved over last season. So, therefore, I look for him to get some touches in this game as well tonight.
All right, now, when it comes to the other position groups, you talk about tight ends, running backs here. One of the few things that was actually really talked about with a lot of confidence this week was Kenny Gainwell. And not just the ability to break off a couple of big runs here and there against Washington, but the timing of it. When Saquon had been going out there and having big gains and needed that breather, the running back position group has proven, I think, so far this year to be even more deep than I anticipated before the season.
Well, listen, I tell you this. If he can continue to play the way he played, he 46 yards on 4 carries last week, that's 10 yards a carry. If he can give the Eagles that kind of production, then they could begin to reel back some of these carries that Saquon is having to get. I think that every team needs to have, and listen, there's a big difference between your generational running back that is Saquon Barkley and the next guy that's behind him. But when I look at the Detroit Lions, they almost have this thunder and lightning type of effect between Montgomery and Gibbs, where Montgomery just batters everybody to death, and then in the third quarter they put Gibbs in with fresh legs, and he's just running by people who look like they're standing still. The Eagles need that. They need something like that because Saquon is on pace for a lot of numbers. And, I'm old school. Hey, get a guy the ball 30 times a game. If you've trained and you're ready to play, that's the way, you should be ready to play. You should come into the season ready to play every single down of 16 to 17 games if so called upon. That's what you signed the contract for. That's what it's for. Now, everybody else doesn't think that way. Everybody else is talking about the amount of touches that he's had and the fact that he's about to exceed those numbers, the highest amount of numbers that he's ever had. But I would submit to you that he has gotten himself in the best possible shape to be in the best position that he's ever been in. I think his numbers are something like he's on pace for 1,900 yards rushing and over 2,000 yards, 2,022 in total yards. I guarantee you he wants every bit of it. But everybody's worrying about it, keeps talking about, the overusage and the injury. But as a player, you can't think that way. But if as a coaching staff, you can certainly think that way. And if Kenny Gainwell continues to play the way that he's playing, I say give him anywhere between 5 and 10 carries a game if he's going to be productive like he was last week.
Kenny Gainwell's a hungry young back, man. Last year he got more touches because it was more of a running back by committee, even with DeAndre Swift here. But now you have this workhorse, so his touches are few and far between. He wants to make the most of every opportunity. How many backup running backs in the NFL do you know averaging 4.7 yards a carry? Now, we attribute that to those 5 guys up front. They're blowing people off the football, no question about that. It's a luxury to run behind this offensive line in 2024, no matter who touches the football.
Mm-hmm. Now, I want to flip it over on the other side of things for a second before we go behind enemy lines here, brought to you by Verizon. There's a player's name that I did not expect to hear as often as I have heard it over the last 3 weeks, and that player's name is Nolan Smith.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you talk about the linebacker play for this Philadelphia Eagles team, and it's been fantastic, obviously, this season. But Nolan Smith is not – we do a segment on the show called Player to Bank On. I was not banking on Nolan Smith to have a good run the way he has so far this year. And what I find really interesting, gentlemen, is that we listened to Vic Fangio almost downplay his sack in the preseason. Well, he wasn't blocked, so, I mean, good. He did the job and brought the guy down, but he wasn't even blocked. Then we have seen very much more of a higher motor from him. Listening to Lane Johnson talk about Nolan Smith, he put on some weight, put on some muscle. He's a lot stronger than he was last year. Apparently, that shoulder that last year he said was optional as to whether or not it was going to work is working at a full clip this year. Seth, when you've seen Nolan Smith play this year, what do you think he has taken the biggest step forward in when it comes to his game?
I think Vic Fangio is the biggest difference between Nolan Smith in the previous year and Nolan Smith this year. I'm just old school in my thinking. And some players need a coach that'll kick them in the ass to get them going, that will light a fire under them for them to realize their full potential. I'm not so sure that Nolan Smith had that last year at all. I can guarantee you with Vic Fangio, he has it now because Vic is like, hey, you want to play? You got to do this, 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 and this. This is what is required of you in order for you to get snaps. And if he's motivated, then as a player, you're going to do whatever's necessary to get those reps and get on the field. He looks better. He looks better against the run. He looks better rushing the passer. Listen, there's a lot of these kids, Gunn, at the beginning of the year. I didn't see them performing the way that they're performing. I didn't see the Covey Dean turn to what he's turned into. I had no idea about Zach Bond. I don't think any of us knew what Zach Bond could be. Certainly didn't think because of what we saw out of Nolan Smith last year that he would show up and show out the way that he has, through the first 10 games. But, again, I'll say you never know what motivates a player. What is it that motivates him to be the starter, to take the next step, to raise his level of play and to be looked upon as one of the premier pass rushers in the National Football League? And if a coach can figure out what that is, then he'll get it out of him.
What motivated him is the fact that when this defense started excelling you don't want to be that spoke in the wheel that causes everything to go off the track. So he knew he had to elevate his game if he wanted to get those reps. You're right. Early on in the season, we didn't see the fruition of what these young players have become. And I think the first 4 games in particular, if you go back to it, it was a matter of the players understanding what the DC wanted of them and the DC figuring out who he could trust in certain situations. And all of a sudden, over the last 5 games, it has really taken off. Everybody knows their role. Even the backups, when they come in, they know their roles. And Fangio knows exactly who he needs in what situation to get the job done. And wow, they've gotten the job done. You want to talk about numbers. Over the last 8 games, the Eagles, what's the one thing they didn't have early in the season? Takeaways. They only had 2 takeaways. In the last 8 games, they have 11 takeaways. That's the most in the National Football League.
Wow.
They're +2 now.
Yes.
Instead
of -4.
Right. I didn't know that was still allowed for the
They haven't been in that position in a very, very long time.
Absolutely. And the identical Reed Blankenship interceptions are also insane this year. Now, we were, of course, just breaking down Nolan Smith, but how about this? Thomas R. Peterson does a great job on social media. I know a lot of Eagles fans follow him when it comes to breaking down numbers and all that. Listen to these numbers. Nolan Smith, the 15th highest pass rush win rate since the Eagles bye week this season, 16.2%. For reference, last year he was 129th in the NFL.
Wow.
All right, at 4.5%. So, yeah, he has turned a little bit of a corner, and a lot of that has come to Vic Fangio's credit, of course. Now, speaking of defense, we're going to go behind enemy lines here for a second, brought to you by Verizon. I'm going to kick this off for you when it comes to who the Eagles need to concentrate on when it comes to this Rams defense. And I know we've talked a lot about Quenyon Mitchell and Guantanamo Bay and all that. There's actually somebody edging him out right now for the Defensive Rookie of the Year nod. And that, unfortunately, is a guy that the Eagles are going to be lined up against tonight, and that is Jared Verse. And he, of course, right now is leading the pack in that category for Defensive Rookie of the Year. The odds-on favorite. Lane Johnson described him this week as twitchy. They got to be ready for that. Talking about 4.5 sacks so far this season. He also has 11 tackles for loss. I know how great the Eagles' offensive line is, and it's fantastic. But if they're going to speed up the clock of Jalen Hurts behind the line of scrimmage, it's going to start with Jared Verse and what he's able to do. And also, for reference, those 11 tackles for loss tied with Max Crosby, 3rd best in the National Football League. Gunner, who are you focusing on for behind enemy lines, brought to you by Verizon?
Well, you talk about quick twitch. I have to consider Cooper Kupp. When he is healthy, he is one of the best route runners in all the National Football League. Now, he's only played in 6 games this year, but yet, to show you how much he means to Matthew Stafford, he is their leading receiver, with 47 catches. The next closest to him is Puka Nacua with 28 catches, 19 behind him. He has 448 yards. The next closest in yards to him is Tutu Atwell, who's 95 yards behind him. He's averaging a little over 10 yards a catch, but they will move him around. He will be in the slot. He will be to the X. He will be to the Y. He's not a speed merchant, but in terms of keeping up with him, everybody talks about Devontae Adams, that being that route runner. Cooper Kupp is just as good a route runner. He has a quick twitch. He'll make you think he's going one way and all of a sudden double back on you. You have to know where he is on the football field at all times. He has some of the best hands in the National Football League as well. Matthew Stafford will look to him tonight early and often in this game.
When he didn't have him for the 4 games earlier this season, it goes without saying how much he was missed.
And like I said, the team is getting healthy right now, and they're playing this one at home tonight.
Seth, who are you focusing on behind enemy lines tonight?
Can't wait to see that matchup, D-Gun. I think Cooper DeJean is going to draw that matchup tonight. Can't wait to see that. Listen, the success of this offense or this team for the LA Rams is going to boil down to, Matthew Stafford. And believe it or not, they run the ball more than they actually throw the ball. So you've got, between Kyron Williams and Corum, those guys are going to try to batter you. And if they can get play action going, and I'm telling you right now, Matthew Stafford is like, this hot and cold quarterback. If he gets hot, if he gets on a roll, D-Gun, good Lord. I mean, he can throw the ball all over the map. So, again, the defense is going to have to figure out, okay, how we're going to get this run game together. The stats are in their favor. The Rams only average, 95 yards per game. They rank 26 in the National Football League. The Eagles are right now sitting at 7th in the league, and they give up 99 yards per game. So and I think that they have the possibilities there for them to do even better. But they got to get the run game under control, because if you don't get the run game under control early, then Matthew Stafford, listen, he can put up a bunch of points, and he can sling it all over the place. There's nowhere that this guy can't throw it from and to. And Marc, I'm telling you, man, he is even in his 16th year. The one thing that he does better than most quarterbacks in the National Football League right now, he knows how to manipulate the pocket. So you can get close. And if you get close and you give him a gap, he will take off. And he's not a big runner, but he can manipulate the pocket to buy time. And I don't care what arm angle, where a guy is on the field, he can get it to him.
Mm-hmm. Now, there's one more number that we haven't even touched on yet, and here's the number, 11-18. 11-18. And that number is a number that passed, and it also happens to be this man's birthday, as a matter of fact.
What is
Seth
going on here?
Yeah. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy 70th birthday.
Minus
Happy
45.
Happy
There we go.
birthday to you.
Look at that. Uh-oh.
Come on, man.
Did they get you?
He sure
No,
winded.
they didn't.
Look at that.
He
Look
sure
at that.
winded.
Wow. Well, thank you, guys.
You're very welcome. Here's a little something to help you celebrate, too. by
Oh,
the way.
wow.
There we go.
Really?
That's better than the one I gave you
0%?
last week.
Man, that's love. Y'all don't understand what that is. Can y'all focus in on that? Can you zoom in? That's an Arturo Fuente Opus X. It don't get much better than that.
Happy
Appreciate it,
birthday,
man.
brother.
Thank you.
Happy birthday. Hope you had a good one. We missed it last week, obviously, so we want to make
It's
sure
all good.
we celebrated and make sure you thank your wife.
I had an awesome birthday. This is just the extension of the love that I felt last week.
Look at that.
Appreciate it.
How beautiful is that? How beautiful is that? When we come back, we're going to take a look at this Eagles offense and how much they're going to use Saquon Barkley against this Rams defense. That's when we return on the betPARX pregame show presented by Lehocky. The Beer Garden, always a great time here at Parx Casino. Watch the game, enjoy a pint.
And the next thing I knew, I woke up in a hospital bed.
Has a friend ever told you a story about an accident and someone says,
you should probably sue them.
forget your friend. Call Lehocky Giordano.
We're an injury law firm that's recovered billions of dollars for our clients.
And with our vast network of attorneys throughout the country, we know we can do the same for you.
So if you've been injured in an accident, give Lehocky a call.
One conversation is all it takes, and you won't pay a dime until we win.
Most people don't know how to get the care they need. The experts at Stay at Home Care can help. Before choosing a caregiver or family member for your care, you need to apply for the Home Care Program. The application process can be complicated. Stay at Home Care can help you navigate through every step. Once approved, your caregiver or family member will receive guaranteed weekly pay, a variety of medical benefits options, paid holidays, paid vacation, and overtime pay. Call Stay at Home Care, here to help every step of the way.
This is Parx.
This is how you roll. This is how it goes. This is how you pop. This is how you rock. Take a chance, do a dance, little romance. This is how you. This is how you win. This is how you excite. This is how you all night. 360 hit me. Now we're going all in. I can feel it calling. The crowd, the light, the night, the sights, the vibe is right. This is how you. This is
Parx, Pennsylvania's #1 casino experience. This is how you win.
Since 1893. Weber Display and Packaging has been Pennsylvania's leading manufacturer of corrugated packaging and displays. We're family-owned with 4 Philadelphia locations, 2 converting facilities, a warehouse, and a fulfillment center. Designed through delivery, we exceed customer needs. Weber Display and Packaging, our core values drive everything we do. Come join our team.
Gentlemen, are you ready for a wardrobe update? Introducing Divine Nine's Custom Menswear, your clothier for truly unique, custom-made threads. With Divine Nine, you can design your own one-of-a-kind suit, jacket, slacks, shirts, golf pants, and shorts, perfectly handcrafted by our skilled artisans who will bring your vision to life. Prepare to stand out from the crowd with Divine Nine's Custom Clothier, official clothier of Seth Joyner. Custom clothing made for you.
Welcome back to the betPARX postgame show. This segment, or pregame show, this segment is brought to you by Lehocky. Still going. Still, let the man celebrate his birthday, ladies and gentlemen.
Actually, I'm done for the show. you guys got it.
All right, we're just going to talk about Saquon and the corners and the matchups and all that good stuff when it comes in. But welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, look, Saquon Barkley, of course, is on his way to some history here this season if all goes well for the Philadelphia Eagles. And looking at this offensive line and their high production so far this season, whether it be a guy like Fred Johnson on the outside blocking on the right side of the line of scrimmage for Jalen Hurts filling in for Lane Johnson, or whether that be Jordan Mailata coming back as well. This offensive line has done a fantastic job. When it comes to Saquon Barkley, though, is there any aspect, Gunner, of his game that you want to see put on display a little bit more that might put him in better position to help the Eagles even further?
I start out by saying no, but I would like to see him catch the ball out of the backfield a little bit more, just to take some of that pounding off of him going between the tackles, just to get him in open space more, one-on-one situations. He's very difficult to cover. I don't think a linebacker in the league can cover him, and he's a nightmare for safeties trying to cover him as well. I'd like to see him get a few more passes out in the flat, let him wiggle his way downfield a little bit more. Give him a chance to punish people more so. And he does punish people, but, when you carry the ball as much as he does, it takes a toll on your body. I mean, he's still racking up big yards, but, we're in late November now, heading into December and early January. Those hits start to take their toll a little bit, so I'd like to see him get out in open space more.
I'd like to see him D-Gun. I saw him last week. The defense was in zone, and he checked release, but he released
over the middle,
right across the middle. Yep. And he caught the ball, turned it into a 15-yard run. Now, I would like to see more of that.
Yeah.
A lot of what he runs are swing routes, flat routes, against man, because he can create his own space against man when he's running those types of routes. But against zone, I would like to see him, if they're going to run these vertical routes and clear the middle of the field, and there's no one there, I would love to see him, either run a F-under route and come to the middle of the field, or check release and sit down right in front of Jalen. Mm-hmm. So when the primary isn't there, just check it down. It's going to be an automatic first down every single time, because the first guy is not going to tackle him.
No.
All right, flip it over. Back to the defensive side of the ball here. Seth, you touched on it. Derrick, Gunn, you touched on it as well when it came to Cooper Kupp in particular. But I can't remember a time where I looked forward to a matchup of wide receivers taking on a whole league of cornerbacks, and what the Eagles have, most notably now with two rookies in their secondary, in Quinyon Mitchell and also Cooper DeJean. First off, Quinyon Mitchell, Guantanamo Bay. Thoughts on the nickname?
Great. I love it. I don't know who came up with it, but I love it. And obviously he loves it too. He somebody asked him about it in the locker room last week. He goes, yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
So his nickname, the guy hasn't even played more 2/3 of a season yet. He's already got a nickname. I tell you, he's special.
We got Coop. All right, we got that. We got the chants going on like that. And then we got Guantanamo Bay.
No, you got to go in the hood, man. That's DeJean, bro.
DeJean, yeah, I'm sorry. That's right. Yeah, no, he is Cooper DeJean. Yeah, exactly. Sorry, yes. But when it comes to this matchup, I mean, I can't remember a time where I looked forward to rookies taking on proven commodities already at the NFL level and being able to shut them down the way they have through the last 6 games.
Well, I mean, it's a testament to, how these guys were coached in high school and in college, and the skill set that they brought here, because they didn't come in over a course of a few months or so, learn how to play cornerback, at this level. They came here with a specific skill set that allowed them to adapt to the defense, adapt to what's being asked of them to do out on the field, and they're stepping up and they're getting it done. It's going to be an interesting match or game to watch tonight, because I think that matchup between Cooper Kupp and Cooper DeJean in the slot is going to be huge. Even when Cooper Kupp is on the move and Cooper DeJean is moving with him, they will move Puka Nacua around and do some of the same things, but they do a lot of bunch on both sides. They cut the formation down where they have the wide receivers real close so they can get those rub routes and those things going on. So the communication on the backside is going to be very important. But Puka Nacua, for the most part, is an outside guy. So, and he normally lines up, to the defense's right, the offense's left. So that means that he's going to see Quinyon Mitchell quite a bit. Can't wait to see that matchup. Can't wait to see Cooper DeJean on Cooper Kupp. There's some key matchups, and then everybody else is going to have to do what they do. But it's going to be interesting to see how Sean McVay and how Vic Fangio, how they try to counter each other as well. And, I put a post up earlier in the week. Everybody was talking about the genius of Sean McVay. And, there's nothing new under the sun when it comes to football. There's just tweaks and different things that these coaches do and these so-called geniuses do, but they're really nothing new. Someone was talking about all the innovative motioning and whatnot that Sean McVay does to kind of confuse defenses. And my comment back to that person was, it's really a lack of discipline. When you got all this motion going on and you lose sight of what your key is. And when you lose sight of what your key is, now you don't know whether it's run or pass, where it's going, what you're supposed to do. And Sean McVay, he is a master at game planning defenses' inefficiencies, okay? So if he knows that a defensive end is not going to keep containment, that he has a propensity to lose contain, well, guess what? He's going to game plan that inefficiency. If he knows that a linebacker has bad eye discipline from watching film, then guess what? He's going to game plan certain things to attack that. So it's not so much the genius, it's the genius that he was smart enough to see it and be able to attack it, but it's really not anything new or anything different. And I give you a classic example. Teams that are fundamentally and technically sound with good eye discipline, they don't fall for reverses and jet sweeps and all that kind of nonsense because they're always where they're supposed to be structurally, principally and from an integrity standpoint. They understand what the defense is trying to accomplish, and they never get in the way. They never mess that up. So you take the Rams in the Super Bowl against the New England Patriots. None of that garbage worked. None of it worked. And it wasn't just because of Jared Goff. It's because Bill Belichick, his defenses are technically and fundamentally sound. They understand what the integrity and the principles of the defense are, and they don't stray away from it, and they beat that team down. They scored nothing. They did nothing in the Super Bowl. So I hope that the Eagles, going to this game, they are structurally sound and fundamentally sound, and technically sound, because they're going to get a lot of motion. Yeah, he's trying to confuse you. But if I'm playing linebacker, you can run all the motion you want. My key is that tackle to the back, and I don't care whatever else goes on. I know that if I got man, I know where my man is, and I know if we got zone concepts, that tackles or that uncovered line is going to tell me whether it's run or pass. The minute I see pass, I'm getting in my zone. So all that other stuff has nothing to do with it. Now, when I drop, yeah, I got to look at routes and I got to read routes and understand what's going on. But if I'm technically sound, if the Eagles are technically and fundamentally sound, they dominate this game tonight.
One of the things I was watching when it came to how much they use Puka Nacua in motion was how many times they'll run him through the line of scrimmage almost, and that'll create the confusion.
That's the exact one that I'm talking about. But the DB came with him, and the DB overran it, and he actually released through the C gap. And I'm like, I've never seen that before. But if the DB is disciplined, because the DB is running and he's thinking he's going to go out wide. So what does he do? He gets ahead of him. He cuts back underneath and takes off across the field. He got him in man coverage. There's nobody there to help him. But your principles are you're always inside out on your man when you're a man-to-man, especially when a guy goes in motion like that, unless you're doubling him. Now, if you got safety help where that guy's going to drop in and then you go back over the top, I understand that. But you cannot let that guy stop and come underneath. You got to stay inside of him and force him to release in a manner that allows you to be able to cover him.
Now, I can't let this last topic here bleed into the next segment, so I want to make sure that I bring it up now. I don't think it's just a coincidence, Eric Gunn, that it's Seth Joyner's birthday. Yep. Okay, it happened. And Britton Covey is coming back, just like that.
Crash Covey's back.
That's my
Crash
dude.
Test Covey is coming back. He's going to be returning punts. He was the NFC leader in punt return average last season. How excited are you to see him back? I think it's twofold, your excitement, by the way.
Hey, listen, you're right. I'm excited to have him back because I'm waiting for him to, have a punt return. I love the way he plays. It's just reckless. And some guys, when you're not blessed with all these gifts, D-Gun, sometimes you got to play reckless. Yeah. And I love to see him play that way. The other thing is, I'm glad he's coming back because I don't want to see our number one slot corner back there returning punts. And I know everybody was excited. The punt return that he had 2 weeks ago against the Cowboys. I get it. I understand. But if he gets hurt, we all going to be sick, especially if he's returning the punt and he gets hurt. No, I don't want to see that. I put Britton Covey, and I don't care if he stand back there and wave all day long.
I wouldn't be surprised if Covey got a pass or two tonight in this game, considering, Devontae's out of this game. It could be Johnny. We were talking about who's going to come out. It could be Johnny Wilson. It could Calcaterra, Goddard, because I do believe they're going to try to take A.J. out of this game tonight. So with that said, that means all hands on deck and be ready. The ball could be coming your way at any moment. Teams, as well as the Eagles have played, the one thing I've really noticed about what teams defensively have been doing to Jalen Hurts is they have been keeping him in the pocket. You don't see the edge rushers over pursuing him anymore. It's forcing him to go a little bit deep and curl to the outside in a lot of cases, and a lot of times he's throwing the ball out of bounds, which is smart for him. Instead of trying to make a throw down the field, throw the ball and live to play another day, live to play another play. I want to see how disciplined the Rams are going to try to be to keep Jalen in the pocket, to see how Jalen handles the pocket situation, and if it's the second, third tier receiver that's going to get more looks in this game tonight if they take A.J. out of this game tonight.
When we come back, we're going to give you our official predictions for tonight's Sunday Night Football matchup between your Philadelphia Eagles trying to win their 7th in a row and the LA Rams. That going on tonight. Also, we're going to take a look at our mid-pen bank players to bake on, make our predictions for that. That's when we return on the betPARX pregame show presented by Lehocky. The Sportsbook here at Parx Casino, just 20 minutes north of Center City, Philadelphia. Take advantage of all they have to offer.
It's the most wonderful time with the kids jingle. Be of good cheer. It's the most wonderful.
Whether your phone's broken or old, we've got you. With Verizon, anyone can trade in any phone, any condition. And get iPhone 16 Pro with Apple Intelligence on us. And iPad and Apple Watch Series 10, all three on us. That's up to $2,000 in value, only on Verizon.
Hello? At RevolutionX, we know that fortunes are made in times of uncertainty. Are you selling your investment real estate? Are you interested in deferring your tax with a 1031 exchange? At RevX, we're experts in 1031 exchange planning and the use of passive real estate options using DSTs. Not in the midst of an exchange and want to invest in real estate but don't know where to start? RevolutionX has institutional-grade real estate options for any size investor right now. Set up a consultation at RevXWealth.com. RevX, defer the tax, maximize the gain.
Pride, passion, and persistence. These are the values that drive us all at Ron Jaworski Golf. We strive to deliver outstanding conditions as well as playability for golfers of all ages and abilities. Our championship golf courses offer a variety of challenges, from a link-style walk along the river to an escape into the pines and everything in between. My team at Ron Jaworski Golf is committed to delivering memorable experiences every single day. See all we do at ronjaworskigolf.com.
Most people don't know how to get the care they need. The experts at Stay at Home Care can help. Before choosing a caregiver or family member for your care,
It's the most wonderful time with the kids jingle. Be of good cheer. It's the most wonderful.
Whether your phone's broken or old, we've got you. With Verizon, anyone can trade in any phone, any condition. And get iPhone 16 Pro with Apple Intelligence on us. And iPad and Apple Watch Series 10, all three on us. That's up to $2,000 in value, only on Verizon.
Hello? At RevolutionX, we know that fortunes are made in times of uncertainty. Are you selling?
Welcome back to the betPARX pregame show presented by Lehocky. Marc, Farzetta, Seth Joyner, Derrick, Gunn with you. Now, we've gone this whole show and we've talked about Nolan Smith. We've talked about Saquon Barkley. We've talked about A.J. Brown and what he's going to have to do today. We haven't touched much on the linebacker position, and it's been something that we've enjoyed all season long. Of course, we've also broken down the secondary, but when you look at Kobe Dean, you look at Zach Bond, Seth, what do you want to see them do tonight against the Rams?
I just want the Eagles to continue to do what they've been doing and just get a step better each and every game. The linebackers have been playing phenomenally. They've been leading the team in tackles the last couple of weeks. They've made some big plays, turnovers. It can't be understated, how well they've played. And like I said, I've been critical of both. Early in the season, I think through the first 4 games, we all kind of felt the same way. We were all worried about, the linebacker position and wondering whether Kobe Dean could evolve into what they drafted him to be, and whether the experiment with Zach Bond, would continue to bear fruit. But you got to kind of give these guys, their flowers, because they played phenomenally well. And to answer your question, I just want them to continue playing the way that they're playing, with great confidence and flying around, trying to get the ball loose, trying to make plays that change and determine the outcome of football games.
They're going to get a great test. Now, you can look at the Rams and say 5-5, that's what they are, that's that. They are what the record says they are. However, this is a team that was without Puka Nacua for 5 games. Right. This was a team that was without Cooper Kupp for 4 games. Absolutely. That's a big impact right there. That's a lot to miss, Derrick Gunn. So this is going to be a big test for this Eagles defense. What has Vic Fangio done that has worked so well? We're seeing Kobe Dean reach a height that a lot of people didn't expect. We're seeing Zach Bond, a guy that was elsewhere for 4 years, just be a special teamer. And then all of a sudden, Vic Fangio watches 20 seconds of highlights and says to Howie Roseman, "Oh, you think this guy's a special teamer? No. This guy's my inside linebacker." And now he's playing at a Pro Bowl level. And then you're seeing these rookies come in, and he has absolutely put them in the best possible position to make plays, as they always say. And now we're seeing even more from Nolan Smith. Seth has already raved about what we've seen from Vic Fangio, but from all the defensive coordinators and all the coaches that you've covered, this guy seems to be able to tap in to the highest level of talent to his young players.
Well, he did it last year down in Miami. He took a mediocre Miami defense and turned it into one of the better defenses in the league, a defense that set a team record in quarterback sacks, and all of a sudden one year he's gone. Vic Fangio is highly respected and regarded for what he does in the National Football League. And you hear all these stories about all these DCs are disciples of Vic Fangio. Well, a lot of times, you learn a lot of things from the master. You just can't do them as well as the master does them. And Vic, basically what he understood was how he said, look, this is what we're going to do. We have to get younger to get better, and hopefully what we're drafting, it's your job to hone these young men into what you want them to be. And I think it took Vic some time to study each individual in terms of where he wants them in his scheme, how he wants to utilize them. A lot of times one team's trash is another team's treasure. When I'm talking about a Zach Bond, he was a forgotten entity down in New Orleans for years. All of a sudden, we're talking about playing at a Pro Bowl level here. Somehow Vic identified, as my strong side backer here, this is what he can do for us. I'm not going to ask him to do too much. I just want him to do what he's capable of doing to play within himself. To me, Vic Fangio saw something in Kobe Dean. I think the predecessors hindered him in some ways in terms of utilizing him. Seth and I debated for a long time, is he an inside backer? I didn't think he was an inside backer all the time. I thought he was too light in the backside to play on the inside. Boy, have I been wrong the last 6-7 games, because he has really shined at that position. He's still on the light side, but he plays like a big man. So whatever Vic saw in him, he unleashed that in him. So you got to give Fangio a lot of credit. He had to build a trust in Cooper DeJean before he had that trust. He didn't just have that trust. He had to build that trust in Nolan Smith. Early in the season, we were talking about Nolan Smith being in a witness protection program. And all of a sudden, he's found his way home, okay? It was a matter of time of the two meshing. The teacher explaining to the student exactly what I want you to do, and the students grasping and saying, oh, yeah, I can handle this. And now it's all come together, and they're flourishing big time right now. I mean, early in the season, they were like 17th, 18th in defense. All of a sudden, you look up, they're the number 1 defense in the National Football League. Nobody expected that.
No, absolutely not. It really is an incredible thing. And listening to the players speak in the locker room, especially on the defensive side of things, I hate the term. I like what Charlie Manuel had to say about it when he would talk about Chase Utley and old school this, old school that. Players talk about old school Vic Fangio. Charlie Manuel's line is always, it's not old school, it's good school. And that's what Vic Fangio brings to the table here. So I certainly admire that about the Eagles' defensive coordinator. Fellas, it's come that time in the show where it's prediction time. Before we get to our official prediction for this game, we're going to talk about our mid-pen bank player to bank on. Derrick Gunn, you want to take the honors and go first on this one? What player do you think you're going to bank on the most to help the Eagles to a victory today?
Wow. I mean, Saquon's too easy. I mean, you can say Saquon.
Yeah, leave that for me.
Week. Yeah, you can say Saquon every week. But I'm going to say I expect the tight end position. I don't want to single out Goddard. I don't want to single out Calcaterra, as I said earlier, because that position is averaging 12.6 yards per catch. Because they're going to try to take out A.J. in this game, I'm going to say the tight end position, I think it's an opportunity to have a big game. They're not that great against the pass, the Rams defense. Obviously not that great against the run. Once the Eagles establish the run, it'll be that much easier for Jalen to go to the play action. I'm going to go with the tight end position in general.
I like how you're being general in the tight end position. You got Grant Calcaterra catching like a 30-yard pass, don't you?
Yes. He's done it before.
Another 100-yard game for Dallas Goedert and 30 yards, one catch for Grant Calcaterra. I'll go the next one. I will take Saquon Barkley on this one.
Oh, come on,
Now
man.
here's the reason. Someone's got to state the obvious, and I think that's my best position to state the obvious here. But when it comes to Saquon Barkley, the historic run that he is on, yes, you might talk about the touches, you might talk about the carries, 335 carries is what he's on pace so far this season, not even including the receptions. But yes, Seth mentioned it earlier, 1,900-plus yards on the season on the ground. Eagles have identified themselves as a running team. In fact, Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata, just to name a few, have gone into Nick Sirianni's office with that open door policy and around the bye week demanded that this team become more of a running team and make that their bread and butter, make that their identity. And Saquon Barkley, pun intended, has taken that ball and run with it time and time again and been clutch for this Eagles team. If things do get weird after a 10-day layoff and things get crazy after traveling out to the West Coast, things get weird without Devontae Smith in the lineup today, go to Old Faithful, go to Saquon Barkley. Seth, who's your player to bank on?
I'm torn. I'm torn because this looks like the type of game where A.J. Brown just goes off because he knows and Jalen knows that the team needs him with Devontae Smith out. But in order for that to happen, that means that Jalen would have to go off. Am I right?
That's right.
So I think I'm going with Jalen. I think this could potentially be his breakout passing game today. Even without Devontae Smith, they got so many weapons. You got Johnny Wilson. You got Britton Covey coming back. You've got Jahan Dotson, who's flashed from time to time. You got Grant Calcaterra. How in the world can this Rams defense that ranks 23rd against the pass account for all of these weapons if they decide to pass the ball? And I know they've got a great pass rushing guy in Verse, and I know that they got some hungry young guys that get after the passer, but we got a damn good offensive line. And I think that if we establish the run, this may be the game where you see the play action pass and you see Jalen Hurts potentially throw the ball 30-plus times in this game for a huge game. So I'm going with Jalen today.
Jalen Hurts is who you got.
You got to look also at how young this Rams defense is. I mean, Akello Witherspoon's the old man on the backside of the defense. He's 29 years old. All these other kids, 23, 24, 25. So it's a young defense that's still evolving, It's not a stout defense. They've got some girth in the trenches along that 3-4 front that they play, but not enough to stop this Eagles offense.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm with you there. I like it. That's why when it comes to my prediction, I'll take the first lead on this one here.
There you go.
I got the Eagles winning this game 30-17.
Okay.
I don't think we're going to be sweating out the fourth quarter in this game tonight. I think it's going to be a good first half, and I think the Eagles are going to take control of this game in the third quarter. I think it's going to look like that. But honestly, I look at this team even without Devontae Smith with a stacked offensive line, still a stacked offense in general, and a defense that is clicking on all cylinders, and a defense that is also very well rested. And I'm not going to say that this team is going to look rusty. I'm going to say that the rest helps this Eagles defense in tonight's game, and they're going to need it going up against Matthew Stafford and that receiving core that we all know. Derrick Gunn, I got 30-17. What are you looking at tonight?
Taking into consideration something Seth said earlier in this show about when Matthew Stafford gets in a zone, he is one of the best in the game. But I don't think this Eagles defense is going to let him just stand back there and throw the football all night. I think he's not the swiftest quarterback out there. He can step up and pick up some yards, but he's not a burner when it comes to taking off and running the football. I just think this Eagles defense is too fast for him. And with that said, I think Eagles win this game 31-20.
31-20, same ballpark right there. Seth Joyner, what say you?
The Eagles have gotten off to a slow start every game this year. I think they've only got one touchdown through 10 first-quarter games. This, to me, isn't a team to get behind like this. Not that they can't come back. They certainly have, the wherewithal to do that. But if you get off to a slow start and all of a sudden, the Rams can figure out how to get in the end zone one time and kick a couple of field goals, then you got, somewhat of a battle on your hands. I think that Matthew Stafford is just that good. I really do. We don't have a premier pass rusher, but, we get to quarterbacks and we cause things to happen, as we so need to do it. I still believe that the Eagles win this game, but I believe that it's going to be more of a battle than the two of you believe. I think, Jake Elliott gets right with a 40-yard field goal as time expires. The Eagles win 28-25.
Oh, boy. Jake Elliott becomes the hero after missing an extra point last week and after missing 2 field goals last week. He plays the hero. So you're not worried about it.
If I really had some cojones, I would have said it's 65.
All right, so I was going to ask that because I saw that in the chat. People were asking about Jake Elliott. Are you concerned at all?
No.
You got him winning. Blip on the radar?
In the game, I don't care what position you play, you're going to experience a game in your career where you just can't do anything right. You're going to have one of those days. And as great as Jake Elliott has been, I just get the sense that he just had a bad game last week. Timing was off, rhythm was off, and it happens. But when things like that do happen the next week and you got 10 days off, you go back and you go back to your fundamentals and your techniques and all the things that made you great, you brush up on those things. I don't think we got a problem worrying about Jake Elliott.
Hey, look at Justin Tucker. He's having a bad season. He's one of the greatest kickers ever in the history of the game. Yep. He's having an off season, so it happens. Mm-hmm. It happens.
Fair enough. All right, we will be back with you. Oh, before we go and hit this break here, real quick, we got giveaways that we're going to be giving away, obviously. We got a helmet. What else do we have?
So from this point forward, we still got the jerseys. We'll talk about those in the post game, so make sure you guys tune in. But from this point forward, we're going to be giving away a mini helmet and a signed football every single week until the Eagles win the Super Bowl. How about that? But these we're going to give away in the post game. So everybody that's in the chat, we're going to pull the winners from the chat. The other stuff you'll get the instructions for how to win the jerseys, and we got 2 tickets coming up to the Panthers game in a few weeks. That stuff, will continue as is. But in the post game, we're going to be giving away a signed mini helmet and a signed football every single game until the Eagles are wrapped. All right?
Well, there we go. All right, hopefully the Eagles improve to 7-0 in their last 7 games. 7-0 since Cooper DeJean started on this defense, and then hopefully 7-0 since Derrick Gunn regrew the mustache. That's what we're hoping for tonight. Okay, line it up. You can do it.
Right.
You can do it. This is why you were never a weatherman.
Do I have it?
Oh,
I got it.
Don't move.
Got it. Wait. Take a picture.
I need to. Oh, look at
that. Take the picture.
I could watch that thing just appear.
I'll get a snidely whiplash.
I'll get a picture of it in the post game.
All right.
Then I'm gonna post you all over social media.
Why you want to do that to me, man?
Why not?
With a GIF with the fingers.
Why you want to clown me like that?
Hey, you about to go viral, man.
All right,
thank you for watching the betPARX pregame show presented by Lehocky right here from Parx Casino in Bensalem, just 20 minutes north of Center City, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania's #1 casino. Thanks for watching. We'll be back with you guys on the postgame after, hopefully, an Eagles victory.
Go Birds.